government is in fact assisting in trafficking drugs in this country. Secondly,
now, whoa. Let me stop you there. What do you mean the government's assisting in trafficking drugs into this country?
Somebody's turning their back for cocaine to have come in this country and been reduced in price so significantly. Now all of a sudden it's being inundated with cocaine. Who's putting this cocaine in here? Black folks don't manufacture cocaine, don't traffic cocaine. Somebody's bringing it in for them to sell. And it cannot be done without government being involved.
San Jose postal workers are in jail tonight, accused of selling drugs on the job. The workers were arraigned today, the arrest coming after a 4-month investigation by federal inspectors. They're still looking for one suspect. Officials say it was a small-scale drug ring, and they do not believe it is a widespread problem.
In Switchblades, the evolution is as shattering as modern warfare would be to the veteran of the Civil War. Drugs and the battle over distribution rights is one reason for the change. There is a recklessness in today's gang wars that make even the prohibition battles of the 1920s pale by comparison. There were, in those days at least, and by the direction of crime bosses, some ground rules. Civilian deaths were to be avoided. You tried not to kill law enforcement officers. It is worse, of course, in some places than others. Among the worst of all is Los Angeles.
414, switch to 5.
We'll be in the area, clean 40.
Roger, I just want to make sure we have the house secured and we'll make an entry.
Right now, this community is in a state of siege, too many guns on the street, and they have to be suppressed.
Put your head down, what are you looking at? Put your head down!
Gangs have taken over, they run it, and they run it through fear.
There are 70,000 gang members in Los Angeles County. Out of that, perhaps about 10,000 are hardcore. Hardcore means that they'll kill you as soon as look at you.
The hardcore gang member, he's a sociopath. He's an individual that you can't do anything with. He has no conscience, nothing except to make money through the sale of narcotics.
They're out there dealing dope, so they're fighting over that. They're fighting over territory. They're fighting over virtually anything. Whose graffiti goes on this wall, whose neighborhood is that. Long-time wars that have been going on over things that people can't even remember anymore.
Most of them that are doing these things are kids that do not feel that they are worth anything.
If you didn't play basketball or football, there's nothing to do but go home and shoot dice and get high or get drunk. But now with cocaine, you have something, a way to make money. And with cocaine, the ugliest person in the world with a second-grade education is the king, as long as he has cocaine.
They drop out of school. We don't do anything to bring them back into school. They go on the streets. They see others making a great deal of money, either in drugs or prostitution or a whole variety of criminal activities, and they say, that's the way to go for me.
They not only become users, they become sellers, and they become distributors. And they now are involved so heavily, it's just a total marriage.
You know, people say crime doesn't pay, but it's worth it in a sense. If you can make, say, $15,000, $16,000 in one day, you just have to be smart about it or use your sense.
A kid is not going to go to junior high school every day and flip hamburgers at Mickey D's when he can stand on a corner and make anywhere from $100 to $300 a day selling rock.
Where do you live, Foot?
80th. Put your hands down. Where? Roll down. I stopped this kid maybe twice a week, every week for 4 weeks. He was in a known narcotic location. I watched him do a deal down the street. But by the time I got there, I could find no narcotics, so needless to say, I couldn't arrest him. But every time during the search, I'd find $600 or $700 on his pocket, every single time.
When they kill someone, they display a really remarkable lack of care or concern about that. Just no big thing. You know, they laugh and joke and what the hell. Life's, you know, the old saying, life's cheap. And life is cheap. I'll tell you, it's very cheap. It's damn near free, you know, in some parts of the city.
I feel like a prisoner on the streets. I mean, I feel like I got to watch my back or beware of somebody trying to take my money or pull a gun on me or something.
People are scared to walk the streets. They're scared to sit on their porch. They can't even enjoy being at home by themselves.
All those people that were killed last year, 387, half of them were innocent bystanders. It's not just gangs shooting each other up, but they're shooting each other up and they're killing an awful lot of innocent bystanders.
In my opinion, you and I can be standing out talking, just talking, and a car is subject to drive by and blow us away.
And out of all the hundreds of people that was there, he was the only one that got shot. And not shot and hurt, but shot and killed.
This isn't West Side Story. This isn't a bunch of kids going around with zip guns. It's a bunch of sociopathic killers who have Uzi machine guns and MAC-10 machine guns.
They don't have the Saturday night specials anymore. I mean, they've got the Rolls Royce of the weapons now, some fully automatic jobs, so forth and so on.
In many cases, in many of these gangs, their involvement in narcotics and the sophisticated way in which they're distributing dope, my view is that we're looking at budding organized crime, no question about it.
They are as effective as any organized gang or mafia, as you want to call it, I would say. I would say they're probably more effective.
We have a war. We are going to be successful. Whatever it takes, we will do it.
The police chief has put 1,000 additional police officers on the street. I'm sure it's made a dent, but even with the police chief riding around in the car, they were still shooting and killing each other out there.
If we can break the narcotic gang connection, if we can really break up the organized aspects of the gangs, disassemble them, make it a one-on-one situation where they're not very organized, I think we can do a great deal in reducing the violence.
There's an incredible lack of real appreciation for the level of violence that these people are capable of.
We've got a lot of anger out there, and we can point the fingers, but we've got kids that have grown up accustomed to this type of life, and now it's just coming to a head.
They can catch you, but they can't stop you. It only slows you down. Just slows you down.
When we come back, we'll talk with the man responsible for the tough crackdown on Los Angeles gangs, Los Angeles Police Chief Daryl Gates, and with Benny Swans, a specialist in working with gang members to make their lives more productive and a former gang member himself.
This is ABC News Nightline, brought to you by Sominex.
What battle plans do the candidates have to fight them? Hear from them all and decide for yourself. Monday on ABC's World News Tonight with Peter Jennings.
Daryl Gates has been chief of police for the city of Los Angeles for the past 10 years and is the person responsible for the sweeps that have led to the arrests of hundreds of suspected gang members in recent months. He joins us now in our Los Angeles bureau. Benny Swans, who's with us from our Philadelphia bureau, is himself a former member of Philadelphia's Cedar Avenue gang. He is head of the city's Crisis Intervention Network, which works with gang members and their families in a program aimed at reducing gang violence. Over the past week or so, Chief Gates, when the campaign has really been intensified, how many arrests have you made?
We've made, well, in the last month, we've made about 3,000 arrests. Just on the last weekend, we made 1,400.
And of those, let's take the last weekend, of that 1,400, how many were back on the street on Monday?
Well, most of them go back on the street, although several were arrested for felonies. They probably are still in jail, but we do have a bail system in the United States, and they are certainly free to take advantage of that, and they do.
Let me just point out, and you're fully aware of the criticism, ACLU, NAACP, making the point that in just kind of sweeping people up in these neighborhoods without any particular cause with individuals and sweeping them up almost as a group, you are in fact violating their civil rights simply by arresting them that way rather than doing it one by one on the basis of a particular suspicion of a crime having been committed.
Well, first of all, that's total nonsense. We must have the elements of a crime, the elements to make the arrest, reasonable cause to make that arrest, and we do have that before we make the arrest. The ACLU, the NAACP, in this instance, are not productive or not positive in their approach to what we are attempting to do. You can't, you know, the civil rights of many, many citizens in the city of Los Angeles are being violated every single day by these gangs, and the ACLU doesn't pay any attention to that.
Benny Swans, we heard one of those gang members a moment ago in the tape piece say it's not going to stop it, this kind of a roundup. It'll slow it down for a while, but it's not going to stop it. Do you agree with that?
I think the kid's probably right. You can put more police in the neighborhood, you can make more arrests. It's never been proven that police alone is going to solve the gang problem. I met with Chief Gates in 1981 in Los Angeles to work on a community youth service gang project. Clearly, if we're going to impact on gangs, it's going to take a collective effort, schools, recreation centers, police, and neighborhoods. I'm afraid that the sweeps may bring immediate gratification to the public, suggesting that there's progress, but long-term poor relationships between the neighborhoods and the police department. Clearly, someone's going to be overzealous, and an innocent victim is going to get killed. I think we need to reassess what we're doing. We've been successful in Philadelphia. I think we can be successful in other parts of the country through a collective working mechanism.
Now, when you talk about things like, networking programs, using the schools, using the families, that almost sounds, and forgive me for saying it, but it almost sounds whimsical when one looks at the kinds of pictures that we've just been seeing out there in Los Angeles, where you have young men who are armed with Uzis, with AK-47s, with M16s. Are you really going to be able to handle that? Is it still at a point where you can handle that through family intervention?
Ted, it would be a terrible error in judgment for us to conclude that every gang member in Los Angeles carries an AK-47 or an Uzi. Now, that simply is not the case. There are two elements of gangs that you're dealing with. Clearly, the Jamaican drug gangs is quite different from the territorial gangs. They both have the potential to be violent. One you have an opportunity to interact with and impact on in terms of the territorial groups, and in terms of the Jamaican groups such as that other, you need law enforcement. We look at the drug problem in three arenas. One talks about a legislative issue in terms of stopping importation of drugs, and clearly it does not appear as though the United States has their hands completely clear in that regard. Government is in fact assisting in trafficking drugs in this country. Secondly,
now, whoa. Let me stop you there. What do you mean the government's assisting in trafficking drugs into this country?
Somebody's turning their back for cocaine to have come in this country and been reduced in price so significantly. At one point, cocaine was clearly out of the reach for the black and Hispanic communities. Now, all of a sudden, it's being inundated with cocaine. Who's putting this cocaine in here? Black folks don't manufacture cocaine, don't traffic cocaine. Somebody's bringing it in for them to sell. And it cannot be done without government being involved. I believe that CNN News also covered that, and people indicated that government, in fact, turned its back. So these cocaines could be brought in this country and be distributed in local neighborhoods. Something's wrong, we've got to deal with that.
All right, Chief Gates, why don't you address that point for a moment, then we'll get back to the broader issue.
Well, I don't want to say everything he said was nonsense, but a great deal of it was nonsense. The city of Los Angeles alone, Los Angeles Police Department last year seized over 7 tons of cocaine. Most of that came in from Colombia through Mexico. It's pouring in. All you have to do is go to Colombia, as the Attorney General has.
Well, I mean, the two of you making the same point about the quantity that's pouring in.
There's no question about it, but I'm saying
Swans is suggesting that that's in part because some members of the government are turning their back.
Well, that's nonsense. The people who are attempting to enforce are doing it with great zealousness. There's no one in the government that is turning their back on it. They're trying very hard. We're not doing enough, I will admit that.
We should
We're not doing enough at all.
I'll tell you what, gentlemen, let's take a break because we have another guest I want to bring into this mix. A number of cities have had a particular problem in dealing with local gangs which have been distributing drugs for international traffickers. When we come back, we'll be joined by a former prosecutor who's worked specifically on that problem, Joseph DeGeneva, former U.S. Attorney for Washington, D.C. Attorney for the District of Columbia from 1983 until just last month. While in office, DeGeneva was known for stepping up attacks against illegal drug traffickers. Let's pick up, Mr. DeGeneva, on a couple of points that Mr. Swans made a moment ago. Point number one, the level of cocaine that's been coming into this country over the last year or so. My understanding is that the price of a kilo of cocaine has gone down from about $60,000 to about $10,000. Seems to confirm at least this much of what Mr. Swans is saying, namely a whole lot more is getting in. How?
There is no question about it, Ted, that larger and larger amounts of cocaine are coming into the country. That is because more and more people are involved in consumption, more and more people are involved in the distribution network, and of course, as a result, the price of cocaine on the street has gone down as well. And of course, with the new form of cocaine, crack, it's even cheaper at about $5 a pop.
But I mean, the point he's making is, because I could add, more and more money is being spent on trying to keep it out, more and more personnel is being devoted to trying to keep it out. One would think then that the amount of cocaine coming in would decrease, but it's increasing. It does lend some credence to what Mr. Swans is saying.
Well, no, not necessarily, Ted. Mr. Swans is implying that people in law enforcement and elsewhere in government, including members of Congress, are turning their back on the problem. No, that is not the case. What is in fact the case is that enforcement is up. We're spending 3 times the amount of money that was spent at the beginning of the Reagan administration on enforcement right now. The problem is that the consumption rate is up, and this is just like any other business. Where there is a market, there will be sellers. There are large numbers of buyers in this country from all stratas of life buying these drugs, and we've got a good market in this country.
I admire you as a lawyer, but I'm not sure that your economics is that good. Usually when the number of consumers goes up, chasing a dwindling product, the price goes up. What you've got here is more consumers and more product to such a degree that the price is coming down.
That is correct. That is correct.
Ted, if I could
go ahead, Mr. Swan.
Just 2 points very quickly. No one is suggesting that all of law enforcement is involved in supporting drug trafficking in this country. There would be a terrible error in judgment. And clearly I'm in support of law enforcement and work with law enforcement here in the city of Philadelphia. But someone's turning their back. Whether that's the CIA in regarding to get additional weapons to the Contras, somebody's turning their back, and consequently there's more drugs in the street.
And I'll tell you who's turning their back, Mr. Swans. It's the American people, because the American people are the problem. They are a massive consumption machine, and they are the source of this problem.
Gentlemen, let me bring it back to gangs for a moment, because Mr. Swans made another point that I find interesting. He is saying that it is just gangs like the Jamaicans, for example, who are really focusing on the drug trafficking. I'd like to get your point of view, and that the other gangs are really just battling over turf. To what degree are these huge gangs in places like Los Angeles foot soldiers for the drug cartel?
Well, there just isn't any question about it. What's driving those gangs in Los Angeles, in Washington, D.C., in Chicago, Kansas City, Cleveland, New York, is the distribution of drugs at the street level. They don't import those drugs. They are distribution people who are functioning as the final distributioners at the end of the distribution chain, from whether it's Colombia, Italy, Pakistan, Hong Kong, for the ultimate distribution of those drugs.
Chief Gates, well, hold on just 1 second. Let me get Chief Gates in on this, and then I'll come back to you, Mr. Swans. What's your view on that?
Everyone knows about Los Angeles except me, I think. We don't have any Jamaicans in Los Angeles dealing. We have black gangs in Los Angeles. Black gangs are organized, and they are distributing coke in the city, rock cocaine. It is cheaper because they've been able to bring good quality cocaine in and then put it into a form that makes it cheaper. There's no question that more cocaine is coming into the United States than ever before. And that's not because law enforcement is turning their back, it's because we are not doing enough.
What I'm asking, though, Chief Gates, is to what degree are these people, whether they are at the end or in the middle of the distribution chain, to what degree are they, in one sense or another, foot soldiers for the international drug cartels?
Well, they are the distribution network, and they're growing in size, and they are about middle level now. They're providing... they have people at the middle level right now and doing a big job, a big business. We think that there are gangs in Los Angeles that are making about $1 million a week.
Now, Mr. Swans, go ahead and make your point, then we'll take another break.
Okay. Gangs, every ethnic group in this country has, in fact, used gangs as an entry, number one. Secondly, the problem and the concern that I have is that when we're targeting black gangs as being multi-million-dollar involved in drugs, we're making a terrible error in judgment. There are some gangs that are involved, but they're limited. It's the exception rather than the rule. And if, in fact, we operate with sweeps, coming into a neighborhood, locking up a large number of people, it provides a short-term gratification to the public, saying something is being done long-term is going to cause difficulty for the police to work in those neighborhoods.
All right.
I'm a supporter of the law enforcement community, but you're making a terrible error in judgment.
Gentlemen, we got to take another break, and I don't know who that was. Was Chief Gates trying to get back?
Yeah, trying.
All right, I'll come right back to you when we return.
Right.
We'll continue our discussion in a moment.
And Imam Siraj Wahaj, leader of the Muslim Mosque. Imam Wahaj, supposing that somebody pulls a gun on you, supposing that one of those drug dealers that you see dealing in drugs pulls a gun, a member of the Jamaica gang, say, will it be very long before you'll have to carry a gun too?
Let me first make a correction, and I respectfully tell you, the audience, that we object to be called black Muslims. We're Muslims, the ones who submit our will to do the will of Allah. That's the first point.
What do you want to be called?
Muslims. We're Muslims. That's what we're called. We're Muslims,
right.
Not black Muslims or white Muslims. We're Muslims.
All right.
That's the first point. The second point, the drug dealers are pulling guns on people daily, and people losing their lives. And we don't carry weapons. If someone pulled a gun on me, I would have to try to defend myself the best way I can. We're not going to resort to carrying weapons. We believe that this society should be protected, and those law enforcement agents have to do the job that they have to do. And the same question you're posing to me is the question that you have to pose to all of the citizens of this country. And again, what we're doing is a deterrent. And I believe that if the people of this city and the people of this country, Washington, D.C., and New York City, and Detroit, and all over the country, if the Christians and the Jews and the Muslims and other people would stand up and take back their community from these people, these drug dealers, they would have to go. And I want to say this very, very carefully, that ultimately we know that what we're doing is not the answer. The answer is to absolutely to destroy the demand. For me as a Muslim and the rest of the Muslims, it's prohibited for us to take drugs and to sell them. So there's no problem with drugs for us. And so we know ultimately the answer is, as Nancy Reagan to have the power to say no, as we have the power to say no.
No, Nancy Reagan that's all PR, public relations. Just say no. She walks around talking about that, but where's the federal dollars for drug rehabilitation programs? And most important, where are the federal, city, and state funds for drug education? I go on the trains, I ride the buses in New York, I don't see the posters, I don't see people out on the street corners doing the education to young people today about why they shouldn't be on drugs. There's no funding for it.
I don't differ with you, and I think that...
And that's the issue we have to work together on.
I think that you're correct that we need funding, but I'm not going to stand and wait for the federal government to come into my community and give me funds. I'm saying that I have a responsibility in my community, and we have responsibility in our community to educate our children and educate our community.
And I'm with you on that point.
And I am saying this also. I agree with you that the government is not doing enough. The people in America spend about $130 billion a year on illegal drugs. And obviously something is wrong with our appetite for us to spend that kind of money on illegal drugs. So there's a lot of problems we have, and I think again, the ultimate solution is to have the education available to teach the people to inspire them to do the good and stay away from the wrong.
Mr. Siegel, let me ask Mr. Siegel a question. You described as the alternative to these Muslim patrols, which you don't like. You've talked about education, and you've talked about changing the system, which would take an awful long time, that's for sure. What are you going to do about the drug problem in cities today? There was a story in the Washington Post the other day that the headline was, "Drug violence redefines city life." It's ruining our cities. What are you going to do today?
Well, we're going to try to articulate what the real problem is. We're going to try to articulate how the drugs come here, who's benefiting from the drugs, and try to awaken citizens. I walk the streets. I live and work in Manhattan. I'm on the trains. I'm out on the streets. I understand what's happening. And what you have to do, Fred, is you have to make sure before, when you said, well, I'm not a drug dealer, you got to make sure that when people are out there, they're disciplined and trained so that they don't think that you happen to look like someone that you're not supposed to be, because that could lead to all kinds of violence, and you have to draw that line very carefully. The history of this country, unfortunately, shows people taking the law into their own hands. There were people
Is that a bigger problem? Is that a bigger problem than the drug problem we have right now? That's all you're talking about is mistaken identity.
Fred, I'm really surprised at you. It's all interconnected. You can't just throw out constitutional rights.
I didn't say anything about throwing out constitutional rights.
When you're talking about before, Fred, you opened the show by saying, and well, maybe a few people will be roughed up. Hell no. Hell no to that.
One of them was a guy with a shotgun. What do you want to do? Let him run rampant in the neighborhood?
All right,
wait a minute. Let him answer
Let me
answer that about the guy with the shotgun. What do you do with a guy like that when the Muslims confront him?
You call the cops. They're the people who are the law enforcement people in this country. We can't allow other people. I think Tom's question before was a very good one. I think the leader of the Muslims in Brooklyn gave a good response. He said they don't use weapons. However, I'm afraid that what happened in D.C. is the inevitable result of that kind of patrol and vigilantism. If they are disciplined in Brooklyn, and I haven't heard so far in Brooklyn any kind of incidents what I heard in Washington. If they're disciplined and they become that deterrent role model, no problem with me. But when it gets to the point that what happened in D.C., and when you start having things, it's all connected to Getz taking out his gun and blowing people away on the subway, and Charles Bronson movies sending out a message to America, if you don't like what's going on, blow them away, we're in pretty deep trouble. And Fred, if that happens, I'm coming back to you and saying, you said it's okay to rough up a few people.
Fred, might I say something here? Mr. Siegel, I'm very, must say that I'm very surprised with your response. I think that, your fears perhaps are unwarranted to some degree. On the one hand, you are afraid of this, you keep, throwing out there vigilantism. We don't represent that. And I don't think that the people in Washington, D.C. represent that. We had an
What do you call beating up a cameraman?
Okay.
What do you call beating up a cameraman?
I'm saying you had an incident again, and I'm saying I think the emphasis should be in communication. Let us communicate with these, the patrol in Washington, D.C., and let us look at it. Let's look at what we've done. We've done this in Brooklyn over 60 days. There's been no incidences of violence at all. Okay, so therefore, what I'm saying is that we have created a model. It works. No violence. It works. Let's try to create that same model all over in Washington, D.C. and other places. And rather than trying to instill fear into the people, and try to make a connection with us. And I think that what you should do, you should have had on this program those people from Washington, D.C., who represented those patrols. Let them explain themselves.
I assume they were invited. I assume that they were invited. Is that, I think that was so, and I don't think they...
And I think that somehow you might be given the impression, either unwittingly, that we are part of the same group, and then...
No, I wouldn't do that. I know New York too well. You can't make that connection. I acknowledged on the show that I haven't heard...
It has nothing to do with New York City or Washington, D.C. It has everything to do with people being fed up. And what you have to deal with, Mr. Siegel...
Yeah, but you got to be careful about the language.
You have to be very careful, Mr. Siegel, but you also have to understand this, is that everybody is declaring war on drugs, and the only ones that are dying are the innocent people of the street. And people are tired, people are frustrated. And while they are frustrated and tired, I am suggesting this. Let us train ourselves in the correct manner, within the law, to fight back in the way that we have to fight back within the boundaries that are set down for us so that we can protect ourselves and protect our property and protect our families.
Gentlemen, I'm sorry our time is up. I'd like to thank our guests, Norman Siegel, the Executive Director of the New York American Civil Liberties Union, and Imam Siraj Wahhaj, the leader of the Muslim mosque in New York. And when we come back, I'll straighten out the flaws in Tom's thinking.
And they express their frustration. The police say they come, they close down the crack houses, the drug houses, only to have them open the next day. What we are saying is that we work together with the police. If the police can do their job of closing it down, and since apparently they don't have either the ability or the desire, I don't know, I'll leave that up to your imagination, to do it, we said, let's work together. You close them down, let the people, the committed people in the community, stand up and keep them closed.
Let me ask you this. What happened in D.C., assume for a second that what I said before from what I read in the papers and what I was told earlier today actually happened, that people did beat up a camera person and who was filming the Muslims in D.C. beating up someone else. Do you oppose that?
Certainly.
Okay.
I mean, certainly.
I'm glad to hear that.
Mr. Siegel.
Let me say this. Let me just say this again. I think that you're not focusing on the real issue.
The real issue being the drugs.
Let me tell you that's right, the real issue being the drugs. And the point is, let's get together with this patrol in Washington, D.C. Get together, talk to them, let them understand what are the guidelines. Don't be so quick to criticize them on national television. And you haven't sat down with them and said, look, I think in essence you have a good idea, but let's work together and see how we can make this program better. And I think that that's more appropriate to do than what you're attempting to do right now.
Well, let me just say that I will speak out, not only locally but nationally, in any instance when I hear that people are using violence against other people, especially in the instance of a cameraman who is filming something out on the public street. I won't be embarrassed or ashamed for that, sir. I will speak out, and I think that what we have to do is recognize that there are a lot of serious problems, drugs included, and I think that you have to respond in a nonviolent fashion because the history and tradition of this country in America, which makes it great, is bringing people together, all different kinds of people, to solve the problems.
Mr. Siegel, we're going to have to take a break now, and when we come back, we'll discuss whether the ACLU is a part of the solution to the drug problem or whether it's a part of the problem itself.